Sorry, sir. You were saying something?
So please start.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. My respected professional colleagues and friends. I, C. Aditi Sharma, welcome you all for today's webinar, and I hope everyone's well-being. In the next couple of 2 hours, we're going to have an insightful discussion about the topic, that is how to handle the notices of reassessment under Section 148 of Income Tax Act 1961 on or after 1st of April 2021. The Finance Act 2021 has recently come out with the amendments over the time limit of issuing the notices under 148. It is prima facie a very debatable topic over the time bar or the validity of such kind of notices. Before hopping on to the session, may I take this opportunity to welcome CA Anil Yadavji and CA Akashji and thank Jaipur branch for their non-stop support and guidance throughout. As to clarify and resolve the queries of practicing chartered accountants, CA Prakash Sharma ji was thoughtful enough to host the webinar today, inviting our honorable speakers who gracefully accepted our request and are present with us for sharing their knowledge. CA Prakash Sharma ji, CCM member, has always put untiring efforts to pursue the webinars on the current and the most recent topics. His efforts towards creating the knowledge by sharing platform via webinars during difficult times of COVID is commendable. May I now please request Sir to welcome our speakers and say some few words.
Thank you, Aditi. Respected Sanjay Jawarji, today's speaker, his colleague, Prafulji, today's moderator, Aditi ji, Secretary of COE, Manoj Agarwal ji, and friends. Welcome you all in a very important topic, reassessment under Section 148 after 1421. Friends, बहुत सारे लोगों को ऐसे नोटिस आए जो कि बिल्कुल इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट से एक्सपेक्ट भी नहीं करते थे कि इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट इस तरह के नोटिस सर्व कर सकते हैं, और लगता उसमें ऐसा है कि उन्होंने मेजरली आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के थ्रू जो नोटिस की डिटेल लिखी है उसके कारण से कहीं कुछ सिस्टम से कुछ उन्होंने जो सॉफ्टवेयर में डाला है फिर वो इस तरह से डाला है कि बहुत सारे नोटिस बिल्कुल एक्सेप्टेबल ही नहीं है। कई लोग हाई कोर्ट में भी गए इसके केस में, और अभी भी बहुत सारे लोग प्रॉब्लम को फेस कर रहे हैं। कुछ सालों पहले जीएसटी एक नया एक्ट आया, लेकिन आज तक अभी वो स्टेबल नहीं हो पाया। कुछ ना कुछ कॉन्स्टेंटली हमारे कुछ ना कुछ प्रॉब्लम हो रही। अभी गवर्नमेंट सीबीडीटी में नया पोर्टल लेके आई है, और जब से इसको स्टार्ट किया है सारे मेंबर्स को सीरियस प्रॉब्लम आ रही है। सब लोग बहुत सीवियर प्रॉब्लम को फेस कर रहे हैं। इंस्टीट्यूट लेवल पे भी सीबीडीटी डिपार्टमेंट ने कुछ मेंबर्स की रिक्वायरमेंट की थी कि जो समझते हो हमारी कुछ हेल्प कर सकते हो, तो उसके लिए हमारे इंस्टीट्यूट से करीब 7 लोगों को जो इनकम टैक्स एक्सपर्ट है सीबीडीटी के साथ में साइमल्टेनियसली इन्फोसिस का ये पोर्टल है उसकी टीम के साथ काम कर रहे हैं, उनकी हेल्प कर रहे हैं। लेकिन अभी भी प्रॉब्लम बहुत मेजर प्रॉब्लम्स है और सारे मेंबर्स को कुछ ना कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स हो रही है। फ्रेंड्स, जिस तरह से नए चीजें आ रही है, नए एक्ट आ रहे हैं, नई टेक्नोलॉजी आ रही है, लेकिन उनके इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में ऐसा लगता है कि अभी भी पर्टिकुलरली हमारी कंट्री में बहुत इश्यूज आ रहे हैं। लोगों को ऐसा लग रहा है कि इन्फोसिस जो कि वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट कंपनी नॉट इन इंडिया, वर्ल्ड में वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट कंपनी है, और डेवलप कंट्रीज के मेजरली गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट के काम भी हमारी जो टॉप 2-3 कंपनियां हैं उनके पास में है। वहाँ कहीं ये सब इश्यूज नहीं आए इन्हीं कंपनियों को, लेकिन हमारे यहाँ कुछ इश्यूज आ रहे हैं। इस पे ज्यादा मैं कुछ नहीं बोलना चाहूंगा, बट ये सोचने वाली बात यह है कि ऐसा ऐसा अपनी कंपनी में ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है। जहाँ तक हमारे इंस्टीट्यूट लेवल की बात है फ्रेंड्स, अभी जो मार्च एंड में एक सर्कुलर सीबीडीटी ने निकाला कि यदि आपके एसएससी एक कंपनी है और उस कंपनी का जो सॉफ्टवेयर अकाउंटिंग सॉफ्टवेयर है उसका आपको ईयर साल में जो भी कुछ उन्होंने चेंजेस किया है वो ऑडिट ट्रेल आपको मेंशन करनी पड़ेगी ऑडिट रिपोर्ट में। हालांकि सर्कुलर एक साल के लिए पोस्टपोन कर दिया, लेकिन हम सब लोगों को एक बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट इंफॉर्मेशन दे गया, न्यूज दे गया, नोटिस दे गया कि जो आने वाला टाइम है, वो आने वाला टाइम फाइनेंशियल ऑडिट्स का नहीं है, सिस्टम ऑडिट का है। जैसे ही अपनी 5G टेक्नोलॉजी इम्प्लीमेंट हो जाएगी और जिस स्पीड से 5G टेक्नोलॉजी के लिए अपनी कंट्री में काम चल रहा है, एक्सपेक्टेशन ये है कि 6 महीने से 1 साल के अंदर अंदर किसी भी टाइम पे ये इम्प्लीमेंट हो जाएगी, हम सब लोग उस प्लेटफॉर्म पे आ जाएंगे। उसके बाद में हमारे प्रोफेशन में भी उसके बाद बहुत मेजर चेंजेस आएंगे। जो अपना 3 तरह का काम, अपना जो कंसल्टेंसी का उसमें होता है, कंप्लाइंसेस का, अपनी कंसल्टेंसी का और लिटिगेशन का। 5G टेक्नोलॉजी के आने के बाद में 1 साल के अंदर अंदर जो कंप्लाइंसेस का काम है, वो ऐसा लगता है कि वो मोरलेस हमारा फील्ड नहीं रहेगा, वो हमारा डोमेन नहीं रहेगा। बिकॉज जो गवर्नमेंट की प्लानिंग है कि एक एसएससी की इंफॉर्मेशन इतनी कम्प्रेंसिव होगी और वो गवर्नमेंट खुद प्रोवाइड कराएगी, वही इंफॉर्मेशन सीबीडीटी में जाएगी, वही इंफॉर्मेशन जीएसटी डिपार्टमेंट में जाएगी। यदि क्लाइंट यदि कंपनी है तो वही इंफॉर्मेशन आरओसी में जाएगी। जो हमारा कंप्लायंसेस वाला काम है, जो कंसल्टेंसी में, वो आने वाले टाइम में बहुत ही नील के बराबर बहुत कम हो जाएगा। और जैसा मैंने आपसे शेयर किया कि जो ऑडिट की सिचुएशन है वो भी आप देखें, इवन अभी 2 अगस्त को हमारे इंडियन बैंकिंग एसोसिएशन ने एक एम्पेनलमेंट के लिए डिटेल लगाई हुई थी कि जिनको फॉरेंसिक ऑडिट करनी है वो हमारे कोई एम्पेनलमेंट करा सकती है अपने फॉर्म। उसमें इंफॉर्मेशन इस तरह से थी कि 99% ये फॉर्म उसमें एलिजिबल नहीं थी उसमें अपने आप को एम्पेनल कराने के लिए, बिकॉज उसमें टेक्नोलॉजी से रिलेटेड बहुत सारी इंफॉर्मेशन मांगी गई थी और उसमें सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर की जरूरत थी, सिक्योरिटी ऑडिटर की जरूरत थी। जब तक जो अब जो आने वाला टाइम है ये बहुत क्लियरली हमको इंडिकेशन दे रहा है कि हमको मल्टीडिसिप्लिनरी पार्टनरशिप मेंटर करना ही पड़ेगा, हमारे पास कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है। हमको डिफरेंट सेगमेंट के पार्टनर्स को अपने साथ अपनी फील्ड में एंटर कराना पड़ेगा और उनके साथ में हमको इन चैलेंजेस को एक्सेप्ट करना पड़ेगा। इंस्टीट्यूट लेवल पे मैं बार बार बताया जा रहा हूँ और फिर आप लोगों से शेयर करना चाहूंगा कि हमने 50 करोड़ रुपए का बजट अलग रखा है और उसमें हम 4 सॉफ्टवेयर अपने नंबर्स के लिए लेकर आ रहे हैं। इसमें ऑडिट टूल भी है, ऑफिस मैनेजमेंट भी है और 2 टूल और है। वो हमारे मेंबर्स को या तो फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट देने जा रहे हैं या बहुत ही नॉमिनल चार्जेस में। इवन आपसे शेयर कर सकता हूँ कि जो वन ऑफ द बेस्ट सॉफ्टवेयर वर्ल्ड ओवर में जो ऑडिट टूल है इस कंपनी का, अदरवाइज डिस्काउंट के बाद भी चार्जेस पर सिस्टम 1 लाख रुपए होता है, वो भी हम अपने मेंबर्स को या तो फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट देंगे, बहुत ही 1000 रुपए 1500 की नॉमिनल चार्जेस देंगे। कोशिश इंस्टीट्यूट लेवल पे पूरी है कि टेक्नोलॉजी साइड में हम अपने मेंबर को अपडेट करके रखें, जिससे कि एटलीस्ट जो उसमें चेंजेस आए उस लेवल पे हमको किसी तरह से कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आए। और इन जो टूल्स ले रहे हैं उसमें साथ में ब्लॉकचेन हुई, वो सब जो नए और डिफरेंट जो सॉफ्टवेयर आए हैं वो उसमें इंक्लूड किए होंगे, वो उनको सर्विस से दे रहे होंगे। तो इंस्टीट्यूट लेवल पे पूरी कोशिश की जा रही है। इवन सीबीडीटी को भी, जीएसटी को भी, जो भी हमारे मेंबर्स प्रॉब्लम फेस कर रहे हैं उसके लिए टाइम एंड अगेन हम लोग नोटिस दिए जा रहे हैं, अपनी सजेशन दिए जा रहे हैं। पर जो कुछ पिछले सालों का ट्रेंड है उसमें बहुत अच्छा रिस्पॉन्स गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट से नहीं आ पा रहा है। इवन मैक्सिमम अनऑफिशियली जब गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट के कुछ ऑफिसर्स से, इवन सीनियर लेवल तक के ऑफिसर से बात होती है तो वो भी बहुत कंफर्टेबल नहीं है जिस तरह से वर्क की हो रही है। इस बारे में हम ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं कहना चाहेंगे। और सारे मेंबर्स आज जो संजय जी हमको बहुत मुश्किल से अवेलेबल रहते हैं हमारी रिक्वेस्ट पे, आज हमारे साथ में जिनको की बहुत प्रैक्टिकल एक्सपोजर है इस लाइन का, वो अपने व्यूज शेयर करेंगे। So, not taking much of the time. Again, over to Aditi. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir. Without wasting much time, let me please introduce everyone to Mr. Sanjay Jhawarji. He's a lawyer by profession and a qualified chartered accountant with an experience spanning of 30 years in the field of commercial and business law. He is the Masters of Law from globally renowned Columbia University, New York, in the global business law. He has also done a course of international commercial arbitration from Hyderabad. He has successfully legislated on domestic and international taxation, commercial law, and transpricing before the tax tribunals, high courts, and Supreme Court, and has several landmark judgments to his credit. Additionally, with his expertise in taxation, foreign investment, mergers and acquisition, banking, competition law, real estate, he has advised various family business, corporate clients, and structured several commercial transactions and advised on the succession planning of the families and businesses. He's also experienced in the domestic and international arbitration. He's standing an advisor to several family businesses. Mr. Jhawar has been a member of various national and international forums, including the National Panel of Training of Commissioners, Narcotics and Service Tax, Fiscal Law Committee of the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India, New Delhi, Auditing and Assurance Board of India set up by ICAI, New Delhi, National Committee of Continuous Professional Education. Being a public figure and a good speaker, Mr. Jhawar has delivered the lectures and presentations at various seminars and conferences. Without wasting much time, our chartered accountant professionals are waiting to hear from Mr. Jhawar. So may I please request you to come up and start the presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
It is my pleasure to share my views on this topic today. And I'm very happy to be amongst all of you once again. I'm not new to anyone, neither the audience is new to me. Jaipur audience closely knows me and I know them very well. So they are like family. So most of my professional brothers and sisters who were in practice before 10 years would recall that I spoke on one of the topics in a conference, and I mentioned that in 10 years time, by 2020, maybe all income tax department buildings which are at prime location in all the cities would become hotels, would become 5-star hotels, because all assessments would be done remotely. And I distinctly remember that it was considered to be a joke before 10 years. And still they have not been converted to the hotels. Let us wait for 5-6 more years. You will find that at Statue Circle, you don't have income tax department, you have a 5-star hotel instead of the income tax department building, because the system which would now work is faceless on one hand, remote assessment on the other, and only the search wings, which should not be at the prime place. Nobody should be able to see the activity, what is happening in the building. So even that would also be at the remote place. And the example which I gave is when you search income tax department in New York, it'll be in some last of the lanes, in some corner building, some unknown building, and some 43rd floor, there'll be in a corner, a very small portion would be income tax department. Whereas they call it IRS. And in our country, in all cities, ITO, whether it is Bombay or Delhi or Jaipur, it'll be at the most prime location of the city. So the shift has already started. You have already seen what is happening. 2020 and 2021, the big news about income tax is server down. That is first big news. Second big news is technical glitches in the faceless assessments. And the third is 148 notices. This is a period of transition. All these problems are going to come, but system is definitely for betterment. You will see in next 3-4 years when system stabilizes, it'll be definitely better for the clients, better for the taxpayers. But in the meanwhile, it is very friendly to the chartered accountants and the lawyers. In next 3-4 years, the system is not going to be friendly for the taxpayers. It is going to be friendly for the professional brothers and sisters because of the technical glitches. And most of my friends have started noticing what is happening around in faceless assessment. They know that there are many cases during pandemic, the assessments were completed. The notices were served which went into spam. So notices could not reach the hands of the taxpayer and the chartered accountant. And assessments were completed ex parte. People are approaching High Court. People are approaching other authorities with grievances because professionals' work is not reduced, but it is increased because of this. However, let me focus on the topic now. And before I call upon my colleague Prakul Khurana to explain the provisions, the new provisions, and then I'll come back to you. Before that, I would like to mention two things which are very important. And those two things are that earlier system and the new system, what are the differences? Earlier system was based on treating the assessee dishonest, whereas the new system is based on treating the assessee to be honest. And why do I say this? You might have seen that scrutiny notices have tremendously reduced. They don't want to generally scrutinize people where person has submitted return, audited accounts and everything. They would not like to do a general scrutiny like issuing the notices with questionnaire having 20 or 30 questions, give your electricity bill detail and give your sample books of account and give your vouchers and whether you have received loans and advances during this year and what are the cash payments and what is the GP rate and how does it compare with the trade or your past years and what is the share capital raised. That standard, the times have gone. That standard kind of scrutiny would not be there. Now, what they say in the memorandum of this year's budget is that our assessments and reassessments would be information based. Now, both, they are talking of both assessments and reassessments. So they'll not do an assessment generally where there is no adverse information. And I should not say adverse information. I should say information as per the risk management strategy of the department. You know that now department is receiving too many information about a person because linkage of all the transactions of a person through PAN and through Aadhaar. Most of the information, whether you are traveling or you are staying in a hotel, you are joining a particular club requiring large subscription, you are making application in shares, you are participating in mutual funds, or whatever you are doing, you are being watched by a department system. They are consolidating the system, and the system is based on the platform of artificial intelligence, where they correlate it with the person's profile, whether the cash withdrawals from the bank every month is in line with what this person has been doing over the period and in line with his wealth and his income, then it is okay. Otherwise, that constitutes an information for them to scrutinize a person. So they are going to make the scrutiny not random scrutiny anymore, but instead of random scrutiny, they are going to do information-based scrutiny and also information-based reassessment. So both of them are going to be information-based. So that means that whenever you get a notice, you must presume that department has some information about me, about my transactions, which is not normal or which is not readily correlatable with my profile or with my submitted details with the income tax return. So there is some mismatch, there is some reconciliation issue, and I must offer that reconciliation. Not that in all information cases there will be demands and there will be a lot of high-paced assessments. They have provided several safeguards which we will study today, that it's not that now when you receive the income tax department's notice, you should be worried about that. There are enough safeguards. However, during the initial period, how those safeguards would be provided, whether the department would be able to follow its own SOPs and the procedures which have been laid down or not, we'll see in a while. But the system which they have made is very good. They have provided safeguards that reassessment or even the assessment should not be on the guesswork, should not be on the basis of suspicion, should not be random, and at the same time would not require reason to believe. That what it would require, we'll study now about 148. And before that, this next slide, which you have seen on your screen, next slide, says that they are trying to bring an ordinance, because these new 148 notices which are without following the procedure, which are beyond time limit, and which are they have issued a notification which is without authority of law, which Prakul would be explaining. So for them to regularize them, an ordinance government is thinking. It is not necessary that they will bring. And what I believe is that there might be a debate or discussion in the government whether to drop all these matters or to bring an ordinance, because we have seen that before 2 days an ordinance has come to withdraw the retrospective amendments relating to Vodafone case. So they are liberal enough now to send an image that we do not want to bring anything which is retrospective. So how this ordinance would go, the time would tell, and therefore we have to keep the matters live, and we have to litigate wherever we find that there is a legal issue in respect of a 148 notice, or even a faceless assessment. We find there is a legal issue, we have to keep the matter live. The law is evolving and changing, and let us at this stage hear what are the new provisions. I will intervene wherever required. Yes, Prakul, please explain the provisions, and I'm here to elaborate wherever it is required.
Thank you, sir. 1/4/2021 is a very significant date under the Income Tax Act, as this is the date when the new regime of reassessment has come into effect under the Income Tax Act. As we all know, reassessment provisions under the Income Tax Act were more or less settled for so many years. There were so many judgments. Procedure was laid down by Supreme Court in GK and Drive Chats as to how, when the notice under Section 148 is issued, how the same has to be handled, what rights the assessee has to demand the reasons, because the provision was silent as to the procedure once the 148 notice is issued. So the Supreme Court, in the landmark judgment of GK and Drive Chats, have held that what kind of procedure has to be followed, wherein a right was given to demand the reasons recorded, to file the objections to the reasons recorded based on which the 148 notice has been issued, and then subsequent stages come. Now with this change in 148, which is absolute turnaround of reassessment provisions, it has been totally revamped. New sections have been inserted, which would be the epicenter of my presentation. It has resulted into new conflicts, new cause of actions, because as on date, there is much turbulence because of the amendment and because of certain notifications which came to be issued by the department on account of the COVID-19 situation, which has resulted into a lot of litigation, which is presently being encountered in the various high courts. Next slide. Coming to the provisions, broadly, the change in the reassessment provisions as compared to the earlier reassessment provisions. As we all know, the reassessment provisions prior to 1/4/21 were contained in these 5 sections, which are the old provisions, section 147 to section 151. Now, under the new provisions, it is section 147 has been substituted. Section 148 again has been substituted. A new section 148 capital A has been inserted, where a procedure has been laid down, which was not there earlier. A new procedure has been laid down for issuing notice under 148. Then there is section 149, which has been again substituted, which talks about the limitations. Section 150, there is no change. Section 151 has been substituted, and a new section, which is 151 capital A, faceless assessment, as available for normal scrutiny assessment, that has been inserted, which means that the reassessment proceedings would also be carried down under the faceless scheme. Next slide. The major change which has come under the reassessment provisions is the expression reasons to believe, which used to exist under section 147. That has been obliterated, that has been removed from the statute book. And in place of that, it is now the information based on which the assessing officer can issue notice under section 148. Now the jurisdiction with the assessing officer, we can get the jurisdiction based on the information in their possession regarding any evasion of taxable income. So the reasons to believe is no more required now under the new reassessment provisions. Now, what is information? The new act, the new provisions, they provide that what information means. It's a means. The expression used is means, which means it's an exhaustive definition as to what would constitute an information. So the information means an information which has been flagged as per risk management strategy formulated by CBDT. Now, this expression information which has been flagged as per risk management strategy formulated, that is unknown. It is not there in the Income Tax Act. However, we get an insight as to what this means in the memorandum, which records it to be like this. Due to advancement of technology, the department is now collecting all relevant information related to transactions of taxpayers from third parties under section 285B capital A of the Act. Similarly, information is also received from other law enforcement agencies. This information is also shared with the taxpayer through annual information statement under section 285 capital BB of the Act. Department uses this information to verify the information declared by a taxpayer in the return and detect non-filers or those who have not disclosed the correct amount of total income. Therefore, assessment or reassessment or recomputation of income escaping assessment to a large extent is information driven. As in the earlier statement by Mr. Jhawar, it has been informed that it is now based on, it is more on information driven. So the mechanism as to what information would be flagged, which would further trigger the issuance of 148 notice, that is still unknown. But the criteria or the basis, the source of that would certainly be the information which they have in their possession by virtue of section 285 capital B, wherein the various government agencies, banks have to pass on the information based on a prescribed criteria under the rules framed under the Income Tax Act regarding the assessees, which creates the information bank with the Income Tax Department, and they would frame a strategy as to what information would be ultimately flagged, and it would trigger the issuance of notice under section 148. Now, the other aspect, what information means, would be the final objection raised by the CAG. Under the earlier reassessment provision, there were n number of judgments which used to say that an objection from the auditor does not constitute any material, or it does not constitute or result in formation of reasons to believe, because reasons to believe used to be the prerequisite for assumption of jurisdiction by the assessing officer to issue notice under section 148. However, in the new set of provisions of reassessment, this audit has already been completely taken away. Now, an CAG objection can also constitute an information and resulting into triggering a 148 notice.
So, friends, what you need to understand here is instead of reason to believe, now there is information. And therefore, the scope of 148 is increased because information is a wider term than reason to believe. For reason to believe, a satisfaction about or the belief about the information with the satisfaction that income has escaped assessment was required to be formulated and recorded. And now just the information which may result into escapement of income, which may not result into escapement of income. It is not necessary that the information is such where department would definitely have the belief that income has escaped assessment. That is not required now. The scope is increased. However, because of this, they have provided several safeguards. As Prakul already informed to you, even the audit objection is an information. Even the software data provided by the department's back office to the department's assessment wing is the information. So anything which triggers a doubt in the mind of the assessing officer, which is the faceless assessing officer, that there could be something wrong here, would amount to information. So here they have broadened the scope. So for why they have broadened, as I mentioned to you, scrutiny they are going to reduce, and therefore 148 they are going to broaden. So there will be no general scrutiny and there will be information based scrutiny. So in total, the number of cases which would be scrutinized would be reduced, because if we see 148 plus 143, so that number would be reduced because 143 was a large number scrutiny assessment. So after reduction of that, they are increasing 148. So that means there are some kind of cases which could have been done in scrutiny would now be done in reassessment within a period of 3 years. And in that reassessment, it is not necessary that in every case additions are being made. That is at least the philosophy of the department. Ultimately, what they will do is different, but their philosophy is we'll start on the basis of information, and then if we find that everything is explained, we'll not add anything. So that is the philosophy. Yes, Prakul.
Yes. There is a new procedure which has been inserted under the reassessment provisions by virtue of insertion of a new section 148 capital A. As we all know, there was no procedure prior to it, and the Supreme Court in GK and Drive Shafts have laid down a procedure. Now a procedure has come in the statute book by virtue of this section, which says an inquiry, if required, with respect to information can be done by the assessing officer prior to issuing notice under 148 with approval of specified authority. Then 148 capital A subsection clause B says an opportunity of being heard by show cause notice shall be given to the assessee as to why notice under 148 should not be issued. So it is a kind of a pre-notice to pre-show cause to issuance of notice under 148, wherein the assessing officer, with the prior approval of his superior authority, would give a show cause and would share the information in his possession as to why a notice under 148 should not be issued to the assessee, and an opportunity of being heard would be given. Assessee can file a reply. The time period has also been prescribed for which should be afforded to the assessee to file a reply, which is minimum 7 days and maximum 30 days. The AO has to consider the reply of the assessee and pass an order on the reply within 1 month of receiving the reply, as to whether it is a fit case for issuance of notice under section 148 or not. So if the assessing officer feels, so where the provision has been created as such that if the AO assessing officer feels that there is no reason for issuance of notice under 148, the proceedings of reassessment would not be triggered, would not be undertaken. However, if the reply of the assessee is not satisfactory to the assessing officer, the 148 notice would be issued to the assessee. Now, the scope of reassessment proceedings, reassessment provisions has been widened. Earlier, there used to be a concept of block assessment, a block assessment under 158 BC. Subsequently, between 1/6/2003 till 31st March 2021, before the new provision set in, there is a concept of search-based assessments covered under 153 capital A and 153 capital C. The notices were issued under 153A and 153C, as the case may be, pursuant to search or any asset found belonging to some other assessee. So then accordingly, the notices used to be issued and 6 years used to be reopened. There used to be a separate set of provisions for the search matters. But post 1/4, with effect from 1/4/2021, with this new reassessment provisions, all search and survey which would be carried out on 1/4/2021 or subsequent to 1/4/2021, there would be no notices under section 153 or 153C. The notices which would come would be under 148. So the reassessment has been widened to cover even the search and survey matters. Then there is another provision which talks about deemed information. One is the information which they get from their data which is in their possession, and one is the audit objection. Now they say in some cases we would assume that there is a deeming, through a deeming fiction. They said we would assume there is an information with the department and we would proceed with the 148 notice. That has been applied in the case of a search under section 132 or requisition under section 132 capital A, or a survey has been conducted under section 133 capital A. There would be a deemed information with the department and they would straight away issue notices under section 148. During proceedings in case of any other person, if any money, bullion, jewelry seized belongs to assessee, books of accounts, documents seized, requisition relates to assessee, then the relevant assessment years, assessment year of search, survey, seizure, requisition, 3 assessment years immediately preceding to assessment year of search, survey, seizure or requisition would be reopened under the new 148 provision. This is proceedings in the case of assessee, search under section 132 or requisition under section 132A. Here the procedure of 148 capital A would not be applied, would not be applicable. So the procedure of giving a show cause to 148 and seeking reply from the assessee, sharing of the information, and then passing an order on the response received from the assessee before actual issuance of 148 would not be applicable in these matters where search or requisition has taken place. So that 148A procedure would not be applicable so far as these matters are concerned of search and requisition. Or during search or requisition, money, bullion, jewelry seized belongs to assessee, or books of accounts, documents seized relates to assessee. It relates to some other person. They are found from the person who have been searched, but it relates to some other person. There also the procedure under 148 would not be applicable. Now the major change has also come in the time limits under the reassessment. Earlier, it used to be 4 years and 6 years. Then it used to be 4 years from the end of relevant assessment year where assessment completed under 143.3 and assessee has fully and truly disclosed all material facts. Then there used to be 16 years if income relates to assets located outside India. Now this entire time limits have seen a change. The new time limits, they have been reduced. Now it is 4 years has come 3 years. It is 3 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. It is now 10 years from the end of relevant assessment year where income represented in form of asset is likely to be rupees 50 lakh or more. So now in case 50 lakh or more, it would be 10 years and 3 years for the other tax evasions or the information if they have in their possession.
And for 50 lakh or more, for 10-year time limit, you have to have an asset. If it is not based on asset and merely some papers, merely some books, merely some loose papers details which does not represent any kind of asset, but income and expenditure, then this 10-year would not apply, only 3 years would apply. So for invoking the extended period of limitation of 10 years, they have to prove that the information relates to an asset. Of course, the loan is an asset. If your loose paper, suppose some loose papers are found where it is mentioned that amount is given to so and so person, then they'll say that it is not about income, but it is about the loan given, which is an asset. But suppose it is only sale and purchase, details of sale and purchase is found, and based on that, reopening is sought to be invoked, or some under invoicing is being found, then the time limit for reassessment is only 3 years and it is not 10 years. Yes, Prakul.
Yes. Now, under the new set of reassessment provisions, there is approvals are required to be taken by the assessing officer at many stages. Before conducting inquiry under section 148 capital A, he has to seek approval from the specified authorities superior, which has been defined, which I would be discussing in the next slide. Then before issuing show cause notice, which is pre-show cause prior to the notice, issuance of notice under 148, again he has to seek the approval of his superior authority. Then again, before passing the order, which is after considering the reply of the assessee on that show cause, again he has to seek the approval of his superior authority. And then again, before issuing notice under 148, he has to seek the approval. So at 4 stages, which is there in a reassessment under the new reassessment regime, he has to seek approval of his superior authority. So these are the additional safeguards which seems to have been inculcated in this new bunch of provisions of reassessment.
And why this is important, one must know, because if there is a lapse of even one particular step or the process or the procedure, then it would give rise to the legal issue that assessment is not valid. So you have to take care while handling any of the case relating to reassessment now, whether approvals have been taken, and you can specifically ask from them whether for this stage approval has been taken. And if approval has not been taken, then if step number 2 is void because the procedure has not been followed, step number 3 would automatically become void. So now professionals have to be more careful, and it is 100% correct that although the work of income tax would not reduce in the hands of professionals, but what will happen, it will go to the persons who handle them more carefully. And therefore, I would request all professionals at this forum that if they are really handling the tax matters, they have to be more careful. They should understand the law. They should examine the facts very carefully with reference to the new law, whether the steps and processes have been followed, because you cannot handle them in the same manner as the earlier cases were handled. The steps there were very different and were lesser. Now these steps are more, and at every step there is a safeguard. If there is a breach of safeguard and they have उन्होंने 2 नंबर स्टेप के बाद में 3 नंबर स्टेप ले लिया विदाउट अप्रूवल, या 3 नंबर के बाद में 4 नंबर विदाउट अप्रूवल ले लिया, so that would trigger the legal issue. You may challenge that in assessments, you may challenge that in appeal, or you may challenge that in high court. That is your choice depending upon the facts of the case. But this care you have to take, otherwise your clients would say that you did not know the new law and we did not challenge this particular lapse of procedure by the department. So that check, your file has to be meticulous. You have to have checklist in your file of reassessment, whether the checklist should include clause A, B, D, everything, whether these approvals were taken. You have to train your persons who are handling the reassessment in this manner, that they check the checklist of everything. If they do not have the information in file, they should seek the information from the department, and then only they should start making replies to the department.
Yes. Specified authorities from whom the assessing officer has to seek approval at different stages has also been defined. If in a case where 3 years or less years have elapsed, it is the principal commissioner or the principal director or commissioner or director. If more than 3 years have elapsed, it's principal chief commissioner or principal director general, or where there is no principal chief commissioner or principal director general, chief commissioner or director general. So it has also to be checked as to whether the approval has been taken from the competent authority. So that is another check which has to be kept in mind. As there is a drastic shift in the reassessment provisions, there are certain judgments which were the landmark judgments which used to be discussed in all matters, which used to be come across in all reassessment submissions. These judgments would find place. Now, these judgments, on account of this change that has come under the reassessment provisions, have lost relevance to a larger extent. They may be relevant on some aspect, but broadly they have lost relevance. One of them is Sub Infrastructure Limited versus Assistant Commissioner of Income Tax, which is a landmark decision by the Delhi High Court, in which Delhi High Court has given elaborate guidelines and directions to the Income Tax Department as to how a reassessment matter has to be handled by the department, what information has to be disclosed, when it has to be disclosed, how the opportunity has been given to the assessee. If somehow some information has come in the possession of the Income Tax Department, they are bound to share that information to the assessee even without the assessee asking for that information. So it was that meticulous guidelines were issued by the Delhi High Court. And subsequently, those guidelines were also incorporated by the CBDT, and a circular was also issued. Internal instructions were issued to the assessing officer. A format was prescribed as to how the reasons to believe have to be recorded and how they have to be shared to the assessee, and what kind of inquiries have to be conducted. They were bound to make inquiries under Section 133, and all those elaborate guidelines were there. Now, with this change in the reassessment provision, this judgment has lost relevance. Then another judgment, which was again a landmark judgment, GK and Drive Shafts Limited versus Income Tax Officer at 259 ITR 19. This is the judgment where the Supreme Court for the first time laid down a procedure that once the notice, 148 notice has been issued, the assessee has the right to demand the reasons recorded, and on getting the reason, and the department is bound to provide the reasons recorded, and based on that reason, the assessee can choose to file objections that the assumption of jurisdiction is bad, and the assessing officer was directed and he was made bound to pass a speaking order disposing of those objections before proceeding further with the reassessment proceedings. So this procedure was held to be a sacrosanct procedure, a mandatory procedure. Any violation of this procedure was held to be fatal to the reassessment proceeding itself. If the assessing officer makes a default in following this procedure, the entire reassessment proceedings and the assessment order, if passed subsequently, was set aside by the high courts. So this judgment has lost relevance, and now there is a procedure in terms of 148 capital A, where a procedure has been now built in the statute itself as to how the reassessment proceedings would continue, how they would be initiated, how 148 notice would be issued. And this procedure, which was used to be subsequent to 148, now in a different form has come prior to the issuance of 148 notice, where the assessee can file his reply and the assessing officer has to pass an order, similarly to as directed by the Honorable Supreme Court in GK and Driveshaft, that the assessing officer would pass a speaking order. Now, reassessment earlier was not allowed on an ordered objection. Now it has come specifically that information on an ordered objection is a valid information. It constitutes an information, and therefore, since reasons to believe concept has been taken away, now therefore the information itself is sufficient, and an ordered objection constitutes an information, and therefore 148 jurisdiction can be assumed by the assessing officer. So this judgment has also lost relevance. However, there are certain judgments which are still relevant. There was a landmark judgment on Supreme Court in Kelvinator, India, which said what is the power of review and power of reassessment is different. If the same information, same material was available with the assessing officer at the time of passing the normal assessment order, a regular assessment order, then subsequently based on the same information or material, the assessing officer cannot pass a reassessment order. He would not get the jurisdiction. He cannot assume jurisdiction to issue a notice under 148. And the Supreme Court declared that the power of review is different from the power to reassess. And under the Income Tax Act, the assessing officer has not been conferred with the power to review his own order. So therefore, the change of opinion concept, which you used to take in all our submissions, that got birth through this Kelvinator of India Limited, which says the assessing officer cannot have a change of opinion because that would amount to reviewing, which power is not there with the assessing officer. And this power is still not there with the assessing officer. In this new reassessment provision also, the power of review has not been conferred on the assessing officer. He has the power to reassess. That has been broadened, of course. Now it is based on information, but still he doesn't have the power of review. So if the information is still the same, which he had at the time of regular assessment, therefore, and it can be demonstrated that there is no new information and it is the same information, this Kelvinator of India Limited, this judgment of Supreme Court still have relevance and would be binding on the Income Tax Department. Then there used to be judgments where the approval under 151 used to be accorded mechanically. These used to be challenged, and the various courts have observed that there cannot be a mechanical approval of for issuance of 148. Now in this new reassessment regime also, there are 4 stages where approval has to be taken by the assessing officer. So this position of law would still be relevant according to me. Of course, it would be the time which will tell how these new provisions are given effect to by the Income Tax Department and how these judgments would come into play. It is yet to be seen. Now, writ jurisdiction and section 148. In the earlier regime, one writ jurisdiction was available, GK and Driveshaft, and there are many judgments which categorically acknowledge the right of an assessee to challenge the reassessment proceedings directly in the High Court under writ jurisdiction of the High Court. And there is no need to go through the conventional route of passing of the assessment order and then appellate route, which goes on for years. So that right was acknowledged under the old reassessment regime, where when the objections are filed, the assessing officer was bound to dispose of the objections through a speaking order, and that order was open, was immune, was open and subjected to this judicial review under Article 226. That position is still would remain the same, because the assessing officer now under the new procedure, which is there under 148 capital A, subclause D, is bound to pass an order on receiving the reply of the assessee before issuance of notice under 148. So in my comprehension, that stage is the stage where the order, if it is not in accordance with the provision, and it is without jurisdiction, or it has been passed mechanically, illegally, that can be challenged at that stage. The notice and the order itself can be challenged before the High Court in under Article 226. That remedy is still available under this new reassessment provisions. As the faceless assessment has begun for the normal regular assessment, the same has been provided for reassessment under section 151 capital A, which mandates that a scheme shall be made by the government for section 147, 148, 148A and 151. However, to my knowledge, no such scheme has been formulated yet. Of course, the faceless scheme, which is there for regular assessment, that is presently, there's a lot of litigation. It is giving rise to a lot of litigation. And various courts have stayed the assessment orders where there was some infirmities in terms of non-observance of principles of natural justice. The proper notices were not served, adequate time was not given, or the adjournment requests were ignored and the assessment orders were passed. There were n number of cases, and the high courts have come heavily on the department, and they have stayed the faceless assessment orders, or have stayed the recovery. They have even set aside some of the orders and have directed for assessment, for a fresh assessment after giving due opportunity to the assessee. So, but the scheme under reassessment is not yet formulated, but we believe that it would be more or less on the same lines. There is, on account of this transition from with effect from 1/4/21, since the new provisions have taken effect, presently there is it has resulted into a controversy which is presently going on in various high courts, which is also being reported in the media, which is also on account of coupled with this act which has come, the Taxation and Other Laws Relaxation and Amendment of Certain Provisions Act 2020, and notifications which have been issued under this act. Now, because of the COVID-19 situation, as we know, there was lockdown, and the notices, there is a time limit under the old regime for 6 years, which is the maximum time for issuance of notice. Those time limits were expiring, and there was COVID-19 situation. The country was engulfed in that. So the government brought this new act to relax certain provisions and to extend the timelines. So section 3 subsection 1 of this act is relevant, which is appearing on the slide, which provided that the time limit, any time limit which is expiring between 20th March 2020 and 31st December 2020. And this is it is the time period within which the notice, the last date for issuance of notice is going to expire. So they provided that it would stand extended to 31st March 2021. So with this act, with this intention, this act was brought, and section 3 subsection 1 was the provision which used to confer, which conferred the power on the government to issue notifications, to extend this timeline even beyond this 31st March 2021, which is appearing in section 3 subsection 1.
Now, come back on the previous slide.
Yes.
Here,
Yes.
you need to understand two things in the language. Number one, this is the first wave period when there was first wave of the pandemic, 20th March to 31st December 20. But they mentioned in the act only this date was mentioned that अगर time limit इस बीच में खत्म हो रही है, expire अगर इस बीच, this is very important. We'll see through a chart how this what is the implication of this, because there will be some years which will become time barred irrespective of this notification. Therefore we need to understand this carefully. Extend कौन सा हो रहा है, जो 20 मार्च 2020 से 31 दिसंबर 2020 के बीच में टाइम लिमिट एक्सपायर हो रही है या जिसका लिमिटेशन खत्म हो रहा है, वो एक्सटेंड हुआ. इसमें एक चीज और जोड़ी उन्होंने, or such other dates after 31st December 20 as the central government by notification specify in this behalf for the completion or of compliance of such action as completion of any proceedings or so and so issue notice, then the time limit for completion of compliance shall be 31st March 21 or such other date as the central government may notify. So these two things were mentioned. And this we will see through an example in the subsequent slides how this would affect some of the assessment years which cannot be reopened at all. This another thing which should be noted from this particular enactment section 3.1 is the power given to central government is to notify the dates. In both the places you may see इन्होंने डेट लिख दी और इस डेट के अलावा दूसरी डेट कौन सी हो सकती है, क्योंकि अगर पेंडेमिक आगे चले तो कोई डेट और भी बढ़ा सकते हैं. So they have mentioned that this power would be there with the government. However, there is no power with the government to extend say that the provisions of the new Finance Act would not apply. गवर्नमेंट को केवल डेट बढ़ाने की पावर है, लेकिन किसी एक प्रोविजन नए फाइनेंस एक्ट में खत्म ही हो गया है, उस खत्म हुए प्रोविजन को जिंदा करने की पावर गवर्नमेंट के पास नहीं है. या कोई नया प्रोविजन आ गया है 1/4/2021 से, उस 2021 से जो नया प्रोविजन आया है उस प्रोविजन को खत्म करने की पावर इस नोटिफिकेशन में नहीं है. So if the government has done that, that is bad. This is what would be explained through the subsequent slides.
Yes. So section 3, subsection 1 of this act only authorized the government to prescribe the date, to extend the timelines. It didn't confer any power on the government to say that the new provision which became effective from 1st April 21 would not be given effect, or the old provisions would be given effect to any notice issued subsequent to 31st March 2021, because with effect from 1st April 2021, the new 148 new reassessment provisions came into effect. So this power conferred on the government was limited for only extending the timelines. So this is what is evident from this slide. Now, subsequently exercising this power conferred under section 3, subsection 1, the government came up with a notification number 2021 dated 31st March 21, in which they said that the time limit expiring on 31st March 2021 shall be extended to 30th April 2021. There is no problem. They can do it. They were authorized to do it under the act. But the problem started because of the insertion of an explanation here in this notification, which is appearing on the screen. There is an explanation inserted in this notification which says, for the removal of doubts, it is hereby clarified that for the purposes of issuance of notice under section 148 as per time limit specified in section 149 or sanctioned under section 151 of the Income Tax Act, under this subclause, the provisions of section 148, section 149 and section 151 of the Income Tax Act, as the case may be, as they stood as on the 31st day of March 2021, before the commencement of the Finance Act 2021 shall apply. So in other words, they say that even after coming of this new Finance Act 2021 into force, still the old provisions of reassessment would be made applicable post 31st March 2021. Now there it gave rise to a conflict. Then there was another notification whereby they further extended the time limit from 30th April 2021 to 30th June 2021. And again, the same explanation was there, which was there in the earlier notification, that the same provisions under the old reassessment provisions, the old reassessment provisions would apply, and the new provisions of the Finance Act 2021 for reassessment would not be applicable. So this resulted into controversy. And as a result, the courts were flooded with litigation. And the grounds for challenge was that this notification itself is ultra vires the act, because the power with the government was only to provide the timelines. They cannot, under the garb of a delegated legislation of a notification, they can't extend the timelines. One, it was not authorized because the parent act under which this notification has been issued doesn't authorize them to do anything other than the extension of time. Secondly, it is directly in conflict with the main section 148 under the new reassessment regime, which came into effect on 1st April 2021. So once the new provisions have come into effect through a substitution, and substitution means the repealing of the earlier provision, how a repealed provision can be given effect through a notification under an act which does not even authorize them to give such kind of a notification. So, and plus under the new, since it has taken effect, the new provision has taken effect from 1st April 2021, therefore the new limitation of 3 years would be applicable. The old limitation of 4 years and 6 years would not be applicable. And then the mandatory procedure of 148A has to be followed. So unless these provisions are complied with, any notice issued under the old provisions after 31st March 2021 came under challenge before the High Court, various High Courts, and the High Court has stayed. Even these notifications also came to be challenged, and the Delhi High Court has recently even stayed these notifications. Just for ease of understanding, we have given a small analysis, assessment year-wise, as to what would be the implication on every year depending upon the date of issuance of notice under 148. For assessment year 13-14, the time limit, assuming it to be 6 years, the normal time limit would expire on 31st March 2020. From 6 years from the end of the relevant assessment year, the end of the relevant assessment year means 13-14. So the normal time limit would end on 30.
As per the old
law, under the old law, it would end on 31st March 2020. Now, by virtue of these notifications, it got extended to 30th June 2021, as the limitation for these 2 years was falling between the period which is mentioned in the Act, is 20th March 2020 to 30th June 2021. So the time limit, 6 years, are going to expire within the period from 20th March 2020 to 30th June 2021. This notification would be applicable, and accordingly, if a notice under 148 under the old Act, under the old provisions, have been issued on or before 31st March 2021, before coming into effect of the new provisions, it would be valid. However, if a notice under the old provision 148 has come, it has been issued after 31st March 2021, which is after the coming into effect of the new provision, then it would be invalid on account of 4 reasons which are appearing on the screen. One is the explanation, because of course the department would say that it is on account of the timelines which have been extended. They have issued this notice under 148 or under the old law, although the new provision have come. So therefore, they would like to take the shelter under these notifications. But the explanation to these notifications is ultra vires to the main Act itself, because the Act doesn't authorize the government to do anything other than extending the timelines. So it becomes contrary to the Parent Act, and therefore the notification, insofar as it provides for an explanation, becomes bad in law. So it cannot be given effect. Secondly, on a separate independent ground, it would again be bad in law for the reason that the new provision has come into effect from 1st April 2021. So once the new provisions have come into effect and the old provision itself stand repealed because there is a substitution, so how a notice can come after 31st March 2021 under a repealed provision? So again, it is bad in law. Then again, for 13-14 and 14-15, of course, if a notice comes after 31st March 2021, it would be barred by limitation because the new provision which have come into effect from 1st April 2021, it provides a limitation of 3 years. So of course, 13-14, 14-15 would be beyond the limitation of 3 years. Therefore, it would be barred by limitation under the new provision. This is again an independent ground without prejudice to the earlier two grounds, which would stand independent. Then the mandatory procedure, because the new provision has come into effect from 1st April 2021, therefore the mandatory procedure under 148, where the assessing officer is mandated to give a pre-show cause before issuing notice. Under 148, he has to seek approval of the superior authority, he has to share the information, he has to seek a reply from the assessee. Then that reply has to be considered, he has to pass an order, again he has to seek approval, and then he has to issue a notice under 148. That procedure, mandatory procedure, has also not been complied with. Therefore, that 148 would become bad in law on account of these 4 counts for these 2 assessment years. Now moving to the next slide. For these 3 years, the situation would be slightly different. For assessment year 15-16, the time limit to reopen ordinarily is taking 6 years under the old law, old 148, 147, 148. It would be 31st March 2022. Now here the notifications would not be applicable for the reason that the time limit for issuing notice under 148 under the old act was not expiring under that period, which is between 20th March 2020 to 30th June 2021, because that extension is available only because section 3 subsection 1 says if the time limit for issuance of notice is going to expire between this period at 20th March 2020 to 30th June 2021, only then this notification would be applicable, not otherwise. So for these 3 years, it was not going to expire between this period. Therefore, these notifications and this extension would not be applicable, and therefore any notice under the old provision for 148 issued on or before 31st March 2021 would be valid. However, it would the procedure of that earlier regime would be followed. Objections can be filed. He has to dispose of speaking through a speaking order, and everything, the same pattern would be followed. However, if a notice has been issued after 31st March 2021 in relation to these 3 years, it would be invalid for the reason that the new provision, again, for those 3 reasons, for earlier 2 years, there were 4 reasons. For these 3 years, there would be 3 grounds which would be available. One is new provision has come into effect from 1st April 2021. The old provision stand repealed. Therefore, under a repealed provision, a notice cannot come after 31st March 2021. Secondly, again, these would be barred by limitation because 3 years is prescribed because the new provision has come with effect from 1/4/2021. Then a procedure under 148A, which is mandatory, has not been followed. So for these 3 years, again, it would be invalid on these 3 grounds.
So it is very important these 3 years because department सब जगह ये ground ले रहा है कि सब ये notification correct है और नहीं तो हम notification के लिए को validate करने के लिए act ले आएंगे. देखिए ये notification से भी नहीं बच रहे हैं. इन 3 साल में 148 का अगर notice issue कर दिया, वो 148 का notice ही गलत है, वो notification भी नहीं बचा पा रहा है because these assessments were not expiring during that period. वो जो pandemic का period और जिसको extend करते हुए इन्होंने 20 मार्च 2020 से 30/6/2021 तक के period में एक्सपायर होने वाले की टाइम लिमिट एक्सटेंड करी, तो इनका तो टाइम लिमिट एक्सपायर हो ही नहीं रही थी, इनकी तो 2022, 23, 24 में हो रही थी। और इस बीच में क्योंकि लॉ ही बदल गया, पुराना लॉ चलता तो इनकी टाइम लिमिट 2022, 23 और 2024 में एक्सपायर होती। लेकिन क्योंकि उस पुराने लॉ को ही विड्रॉ कर लिया गया 31 मार्च 2021 को, तो इनकी टाइम लिमिट सबकी 2021 में तो खत्म हो गई। अब इसकी इस नोटिफिकेशन से भी एक्सटेंड नहीं करी जा सकती। दैट इज द पॉइंट व्हिच प्रफुल्ल वाज ट्राइंग टू मेक। नया सेक्शन के हिसाब से टाइम लिमिट 3 साल है, उस 3 साल के तो बियॉन्ड चले गए। ये पुराने टाइम लिमिट में 6 साल थी, वो 6 साल में इन्होंने जिसको नोटिफिकेशन से बचाया उस पीरियड में इनकी टाइम लिमिट एक्सपायर नहीं हो रही थी, तो वैसे चले गए। So now these 3 assessment years would be barred by limitation unless retrospective amendment आए, और वो भी इस तरह का आए कि पूरा 148 को ही पुराने वाले को आगे एक्सटेंड कर दिया। खाली नोटिफिकेशन को वैलिडेट करने के लिए अगर आया लॉ, उसमें भी नहीं बच रहे हैं। ये 148 के नोटिसेस क्वैश ही हो रहे हैं, खत्म हो रहे हैं। 148 के नोटिसेस को बैड हो जाएंगे।
Yes. So therefore, as on today, whatever 148 notices are being issued, they are being issued under the old law. I have not seen any notice being issued under the new 148, as the scheme also has not come for faceless assessment. So presently, the notices are being issued under the old law, and they are being issued under the shelter of those notifications. And so therefore, the important thing which has to be seen once the notice is received is the date of issuance of notice, as to whether they are after 31st March 2021, then therefore those can be challenged on these grounds straight away before the High Court under writ jurisdiction. These are certain decisions, orders wherein the High Court have granted interim relief, wherein the challenge was made to the reassessment notices on these grounds, and the challenge was made to the notifications to be on the ground that they are ultra vires to the Act. And Delhi High Court in this case of Ganpati Traders Private Limited and others have granted stay, and even the notifications have been stayed.
Yes, this is
by
important.
the High Court.
This is important because जजमेंट तो दिल्ली का भी है, बॉम्बे का भी है, कलकत्ता का भी है, बट इस रीसेंट जजमेंट में 15/7/2021 को जो जजमेंट आया है, इसमें अपार्ट फ्रॉम नोटिस, कुछ जजमेंट्स में केवल नोटिस स्टे किया है, बट इस जजमेंट में नोटिफिकेशन को भी स्टे कर दिया। दैट मीन्स दैट यू ऑल्सो कैन टेक बेनिफिट ऑफ दिस जजमेंट, दैट नोटिफिकेशन स्टे कर दिया है। उस केस नोटिस जब स्टे कराए तब तो केवल वो ही एसएससी बेनिफिट ले सकता है। नोटिफिकेशन अगर स्टे कर दिया है तो अदर एसएससीज कैन आल्सो टेक बेनिफिट। दैट जो नोटिफिकेशन ने 31 मार्च 2021 की टाइम लिमिट को बढ़ाया, वो नोटिफिकेशन का यूज नहीं लिया जा सकता है। गवर्नमेंट कैन नॉट टेक यूज ऑफ दैट नोटिफिकेशन, सो दैट काइंड ऑफ ऑब्जेक्शन यू हैव टू रेज।
Yes. Some of the observations of Delhi High Court are this court is of the prima facie view that the impugned notification is contrary to settled principle of statutory interpretation, namely that any action taken post the amendment of a procedural section would have to abide by the new procedures stipulated in the Amendment Act. So what High Court has stated here is that 148A is a procedural section, and once this new section has come into effect, therefore this new procedure has to be followed. It has to be mandatorily followed. Then they say that by virtue of a notification which is a delegated legislation, the date for implementation of statutory provision as stipulated in the Act cannot be varied or changed. So they say by virtue of a notification, a delegated legislation, the date of implementation of a statutory provision cannot be deferred, which is there, which has come by way of Finance Act with effect from 1st April 2021. You cannot defer it by bringing a notification. That cannot be done. Then they say Section 6 of the General Clauses Act offers no assistance to the respondent, as the new Section 148 A demonstrates an intent to destroy the old procedure. They say once the old procedure has been repealed, therefore the Section 6 of the General Clauses Act would also not come to the rescue of the department. And there are various decisions. Bombay High Court, Calcutta High Court, they have granted stay. These are some of the orders which have been passed by the Bombay High Court. There are more matters in which these stay orders are operating now. A stay has been granted even by the Rajasthan High Court also in few matters. The notifications have also been challenged in the High Court, and the notices have been issued to the Union of India. However, the stay has been granted in many matters on the notices issued under 148 under the old law. So this litigation is alive presently.
So at this stage, you can raise your questions and we'll be happy to answer all those questions, because in these matters, what would happen in all these matters and how to handle these matters. Before you raise questions, I will just take 5 minutes to tell you how to handle these matters. Now, there are two approaches to handle this matter. Number one, when we receive the notice under Section 148, then we raise preliminary objections. Preliminary objections means because we don't have reasons, so we raise only preliminary objection. And which preliminary objection? The two objections. One of the limitation, Section 149, new limitation, that notice is beyond new limitation. Second, and with limitation, we can also raise, like in one of the cases where I'm fighting the matter, the approval was not taken by Principal Chief Commissioner, it was taken by Principal Commissioner. So you can raise the objection that requisite legal requirement was not met. It may appear to be a very small point to you that from whom the approval has been taken, but if this is a legal mandate or a statutory mandate for reopening of the assessment and that has not been followed, that will be fatal for 148 notice, and 148 notice may be quashed even simply on this ground that requisite approval as provided in the law was not taken. So the first approach is to raise this objection, and 148A procedure has not been followed. नया लॉ कहता है कि 148 इशू करने के पहले, 148 का नोटिस इशू करने के पहले 148A का प्रोसीजर फॉलो होगा, और वो प्रोसीजर फॉलो नहीं किया, शो कॉज नोटिस नहीं दिया, इंक्वायरी नहीं करी, then that is the second objection. हमको 148 मिला, लेकिन ये दोनों चीज तो हमारे केस में हुई नहीं. So that can be raised, and after raising this, if you can make a request in the same letter of objection that because you have not followed this and because it is beyond limitation, then notice may kindly be withdrawn. And this is the first method. Now, second and the traditional method, which many people are following because they are shying away from going to the High Court in the first stage. First stage में फायदा ये, जिसको High Court जल्दी जाना है उसको first method follow करना चाहिए, जिसको High Court late जाना है उसको second method follow करना चाहिए. In second method, apart from raising these two objections as preliminary objection, what you can do, you can mention that however, in order to comply with, पहले तो दो ऑब्जेक्शन रेज कर दीजिए कि आपने 148A का प्रोसीजर फॉलो नहीं किया 148 का नोटिस देने के पहले, और आपने लिमिटेशन के बाद में नोटिस दिया. ये दोनों के बाद में you have also to mention that however, please supply us the copy of reasons recorded by you for reopening of the case, and for that purpose, in compliance with the GK and Supreme Court judgment, our return already filed may be treated to be returned in response to notice under Section 148. So, क्योंकि उस GK के जजमेंट में कहा था कि आपको रीजन मांगने के पहले रिटर्न भरनी ही पड़ेगी, तो आपको रीजन मांगना है अगर सेकंड मेथड में जाते हैं हैंडल करने में, तो एक रिटर्न भरने का लाइन आपको लिख के देनी पड़ेगी. सो प्रिलिमिनरी ऑब्जेक्शन भी रेज कर दिए सेम लेटर में, रिटर्न भरने का मेंशन भी कर दिया, और तीसरा चीज ऑब्जेक्शंस, आपने रीजंस भी मांग ली. Now once you receive the reasons, then you can file the objections to the reasons, और ऑब्जेक्शन जब डिस्पोज ऑफ हो तब रिट में जा सकते हैं. तो ये 2 मेथड हो गए, बल्कि मैं ये कहूँ कि टोटल 3 मेथड हो गए. एक रिट में जाना ही नहीं है, सपोज नॉर्मल असेसमेंट चैनल में जाना है, तो आपने ये मेथड तो फॉलो कर लिया, उसके बाद उसने असेसमेंट करा, और फिर आपके पास कोई डिमांड का लंबा चौड़ा इशू छोटा सा ही है, तो उसमें आप नॉर्मल असेसमेंट चैनल में जा सकते हैं. लेकिन जहाँ अमाउंट बड़े हैं, जहाँ आपको लगता है कि नॉर्मल असेसमेंट चैनल में जाएंगे तो बीच में रिकवरी हो जाएगी या अटैचमेंट हो जाएगा बैंक अकाउंट का, वहां फर्स्ट या सेकंड मेथड फॉलो करके रिट पिटीशन में जाना चाहिए. फर्स्ट मेथड में तो रिट पिटीशन में तुरंत जा सकते हैं, नोटिस आने के बाद ये केवल एक ऑब्जेक्शन देके और 15 दिन वेट करके जा सकते हैं. सेकंड मेथड में उनका ऑब्जेक्शंस का डिस्पोज ऑफ हो तब जा सकते हैं रिट पिटीशन में. सो दैट इज ब्रीफली द मेथड in which you should deal with. Now I open the floor for question and answers.
Thank you so much, sir. I may now request the members whomsoever wishes to have a one-to-one conversation with sir. Please, you can just unmute yourself and come forward if you want to ask anything with Sanjay sir or Prakul sir. Prakul sir, with your due permission, I may introduce you to all my members, although the session was conducted to be very nice and very informative. So in the flow of the session, so with your due permission, am I please
Sure,
permitted
please.
to?
Go ahead.
Thank you. So let me take this opportunity to have a brief description and brief introduction about Prakul Khurana ji, who is a senior partner in a practicing firm in the field of direct and indirect taxation. वो अपने members ने अभी बहुत अनुभव किया ही होगा, because he was wonderful demonstrating the matter of the subject what we are talking about. Sir did his graduation from University of Punjab and post-graduation diploma in the business administration from Symbiosis, Pune. Mr. Khurana, apart from being an active litigation, has also presented the clients in various domestic commercial arbitration matters and has acted for and behalf of the clients on various other transactional matters. He has involved himself and represented clients for various courts and statutory tribunals. Words may fall short, but Mr. Khurana has a litigation experience of about 13 years and has also advised various clients in the matters involving the shareholder disputes and minority actions, and has various numbers of reported judgments in the diverse field of law to his credit. I may take this opportunity to thank you and Sanjay sir as well, and Prakul sir, to come up on this platform. We have Dinesh Jain ji. Please unmute unmute him.
Some questions have been raised in the chat box, and I would like to.
Dinesh ji, please unmute yourself.
I'm trying, but yes.
In the chat box.
I'm audible, sir?
Yes.
Yes, very much.
Some of the questions in the chat box, as well as.
In some cases, notices are issued without DIN number because of non-parent cases. So we have written letter to assessing officer, but they have not updated on portal actually. And how can we deal? How we deal in such cases?
No, but notices have been issued after 31st March.
Yeah.
And notices have been served also.
Yes.
That would not be a very great procedural lapse. If it is DIN number is not there, only DIN number is not there, that will not be a great procedural lapse.
This was because PAN number is not mentioned. Without PAN, notice has been issued because.
No. If name and address has been correctly mentioned,
yes.
They should mention PAN number. That is the law. That is the rule. But that is not fatal. That procedural defect in mentioning this is a curable defect. It is not a defect which is fatal to the reassessment proceedings.
Okay, sir. But sir, if it is not come on portal, how can
No. And that's why I've asked you. If it has come on portal, if it has been served, then it is valid. If it is not come on portal, it has not been served, no email, no portal service, then it is invalid.
Yes, it is come only by post.
If it is served, service can be by any mode. If it has been served, then it is valid.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Shall I take up the questions which are there in the chat box?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, one of the questions is, let me retrieve the question. Aditi, can you read the question? Because
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Bilkul. In the case of notices issued without the PAN of the
this
SSC
has
and the
been answered.
jurisdiction decided based on the address, but the okay, okay. Other than that,
there is one, there were 2-3 questions. There is a question about the amendment in the law. There are 2 questions about amendment in the law. Yes, if they can retrospectively amend the law by bringing
if the government amend the act by
yes, Aditi, I got this question and I am answering this.
Okay, sir.
Parliament can bring a new law to bring in the notification within the realm of the law itself by retrospectively amending the income tax law or the Taxation Amendment Act. However, in my view, even the retrospective Amendment Act would also be challenged by various petitioners in the writ petition. That once a notification has been issued and at the time of issuance of notification there was no authority, then this cannot be revalidated. On these grounds, it would be challenged and only time would tell how the courts would take a view. But please mind, do not forget to challenge your client's matter in a writ petition, because if the amendment comes in this fashion, we do not know what kind of amendment would come. But if the amendment comes in this fashion, that wherever the matters are pending in courts or wherever this issue has been challenged, then these matters, this retrospective amendment would not save the legality or illegality of the 148 proceedings. So, of course, the possibility is very less that they would discriminate between the persons who are challenged before High Court and who are not challenged before High Court. But still, we have to be on safer side where the amounts are large. Amounts are small, we can take a chance that whatever will happen with other people would happen with us. But if amounts are large, we should ourselves challenge. We should not take a chance, because there have been incidences in past where whosoever is in litigation was protected and whosoever is not in litigation was not protected. Yes, any other question?
Thank you so much, sir. I think that solves all the questions in the chat box. If any, then please, I request the members to just raise their hands. I can unmute them and you can ask directly.
There is one message from Hemant Bansal in the chat box.
Akul, if you are able to read that, please read and answer.
Yes, he has asked if he has already assessed under 148 for assessment year 13-14 and an appeal judgment in favor of assessee. Now department has again issued notice under 148 for assessment year 13-14 in April 21. Now it should be challenged in writ petition. The answer is obviously yes, because it is in April 21. So it is certainly barred by limitation. And the new regime has taken effect with effect from 1st April 21. So it would be bad in law. It should be challenged in a writ petition.
I think we can conclude the session.
Aditi,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, I think all the questions in the chat box are being addressed to.
There is just one more question. If the notice for assessment year 15-16 has been issued prior to 31st March 21, then yes, the old law would apply, because new law came into force only with effect from 1st April 2021. And the notice is valid if other things are valid. If you want to challenge the notice on other grounds, like reason to believe are not there, then you have to challenge as per the old procedure on the basis of GKN and the earlier two sub-infrastructure, and Prakul mentioned certain judgments which are applicable in the old regime. So the manner of challenge would be different. They can be challenged, but not on these grounds on which the new procedure has not been followed. And we are challenging on the basis of the grounds which Prakul just mentioned, that notices issued after 31st March 21 would require followance of new procedure.
Okay. Thank you.
Now,
So-
there's another question. There's another question.
Yes. So
Mechanical
the notice,
approval by
received-
PIT, yes, it can be challenged. Notice received for 15-16 on 26/6/21, not showing PAN number. See, 26/6/21, I'm saying this can be very well challenged, because 15-16, no notice can be issued after 31st March 21. So whether showing PAN number or without showing PAN number, whatever it is, even if PAN number was shown, the notice can be very well challenged and you will be successful. There is one more question
mechanical approval by
that we have already dealt with, that those notices can be challenged. One notice received on mail on 1st April and two received on 31st March on mail. However, no notice appearing on its portal on 1st April. How treat in present scenario? See, if notice is served in any, say, I would suggest you to raise this issue in writ petition, because it requires both the things. It requires that you post on the portal and you service through the registered email ID. So if it is not posted on the portal and you have the proof that I checked it was not posted on the portal, then it is a fit case for challenge to the High Court. I think that is all, Aditi.
Okay, thank you so much, speakers, and I request members in the personal capacity, if they wish to ask anything, they might be available. You can personally contact and resolve the queries. And due to paucity of time, we have to conclude this session, although we might be all ears to hear our prestigious speakers go on speaking for next couple of hours as well. I thank you so much, Sanjay sir. I thank you so much, Prakul sir, for gracing today's occasion and being there at our request. And I thank you all the members for participating and with good spirits. Thank you, Prakash sir, for hosting such beautiful session. I may have to end this session. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. Stay fit, stay fine. Thank you. Thank you.